Good morning, cat people. I finally managed to get online. Technical difficulties, what can I say? Now, do you like my great beanie this morning? For those of you that know me personally, you'll know that I've had a haircut that didn't actually turn out quite right. My fringe is a bit short, so it looks like I'll be working with beanies and hats for a few weeks until that sorts out. Hey, Tanya, how you going? Thanks for joining me this morning. Now, before we get started into how to photograph cats, I thought I would start off with a little bit of some cat facts instead of just cat chats. So if you've been following me on my Facebook page, we're looking after some kittens at the moment, or a pregnant cat for a friend of ours. She's a pedigree Somali, beautiful, beautiful cat. She's just recently had 3 little kittens. They're about 9 days old today. So they're very cute, but I put up a video the other day which showed how their claws are still out. And it's actually a really interesting little cat fact that cats are born with their claws out. And it's not until they're about 4 weeks old that their claws actually retract back in to their little digits. So I thought that was a good one to use for today's show. Now, obviously, as a cat photographer, I have been photographing cats for a very, very long time. Oh, excuse me, got a frog in my throat this morning. But obviously, cat photographers can't be everywhere in everybody's home, and there's a lot of people that like to take photos of their cats. So today's show is giving you some tips and tricks as to how you can set up in your house to get the best results for your cats. So we're going to call this Photographing Cats 101 because it's really the basics that you need to get started on first. So before we do get started though, I just wanted to let you know that I now do have a thing called Patreon. So if you'd like to support me in what I do and become part of the community, you can actually be part of my crew over on Patreon. It's $3 a month, so it's not very expensive, which is great. I'm going to be putting a lot of content over there and you'll also be able to get questions and answers with things and feedback on your photography. Gee, this frog in my throat's really a good one today. So the whole idea of that is it's going to be a bit like a cat club, but for photography, and also I'm going to be doing some stuff on leash training and harness training and how to actually get your cats outdoors and into adventure and stuff like that as well. Now, if you would buy me a cup of coffee a month to pick my brains, then this is a perfect opportunity to do exactly that, but online. And hey, $3 American US per month is not a lot to ask. So that community is just starting to build right now. Would love it if you could join me over there. I am going to put a link to a free 5-day video course that I've done with a friend of mine over on my Camera Love site, which will actually take you through some basics as well. So if you really like what we're doing here today, go and check that out as well. That'll give you some additional information, and then maybe think about becoming a Patreon Cat Mama member. All right, so I'm going to give you 3 major tips today on what you need to do for great photos of your cats. Now, tip number 1 is great light. Photography is actually all about light. So the cameras capture what the light hits. Without good light, you really can't get good photographs. So the first thing you need to do is have a look around your home and see where you're getting really good light. Now, when we built this back room here, deliberately had huge big windows at the back so that we got lots of nice natural light in this room so that I can actually use it as a natural light studio, or I can use it for, I can shut the curtains off and use it for the electronic flash studio that I do. Now, obviously not everybody's homes is set up for photography or being a studio space. So what you want to do is find the biggest window in your home that allows lots of beautiful soft lighting, and that's going to be a perfect situation for you to get good quality of light and a good amount of light. Now, if you've got an outdoor cat enclosure area, that's another opportunity for you to find really, really good light. So what you need to do there though is make sure that you don't have dappled light. You still want to have that nice soft, what I would call overcast light. So if it's a beautiful, in South Australia today, we've got a very overcast day, it would be a perfect opportunity for me to go out into our enclosures and photograph out there because the light is beautiful and soft and it wraps around the cats. So the quality of the light and the amount of light that you've got is really, really important. So look for those large windows. Some large windows, they can actually have shade, so that's stopping the light coming in. It's usually better in the morning or the afternoon because you'll have directional light. Middle of the day, the light is directly above our houses and doesn't come in the windows quite so much. So in the morning or in the afternoon is probably going to be your best bet to find perfect light. Now, when you're actually photographing with that light, you can either have your subject so they're side on to the light. So the window would be here and I would be side on to it. And that will give you a more dramatic effect. If you put your back to the window and you're photographing so that the window is behind you and it's giving you lots of light, the only thing you've got to be careful there is not to get in front of the light source too much, but that will give you a really beautiful soft light. Now, the hardest one of all the lights to do is where you're actually photographing towards the window because you've got a lot of light streaming in and it can be really difficult for you to have your camera give you the right exposure for the animal. Now, when I'm talking about cameras, I'm talking about phone cameras and digital SLRs, and we'll touch on those in a bit. But the whole idea is that if you're going to, you could photograph straight into the window, have something behind the subject. And what happens then is the light comes over the top of whatever that is and backlights it. And you don't have that problem then of trying to get the exposure right because you've got all this light bright behind the window. Now, that's a little bit of an advanced tip there. Try the side on or using the window behind you. That'll be your best results if you're just starting out and getting used to things. Okay, so that's my tip number one, great light. Tip number two, simplify your shot. Now, I have a couple of areas in the house where I've deliberately set up little spaces that if the cats go and have a sleep there, I can take some great shots of them. We have some beautiful windows in our house and it makes it really easy for me to use some of my prop chairs and actually put them in specific locations. The cats eventually come along and do what cats do, get themselves comfortable and relaxed, and then I can take some great shots of them. Now, when you're working with cats at home, because they're your cats, you're going to know what sort of personalities they are and what type of things they like. So if they like to sit on a piece of paper, for instance, then set your shot up and put a piece of paper there. You can bet your bottom dollar they'll go and sit on it because it's just what cats do. But you'll know your cats better than anybody. As a cat photographer, one of the hardest things that I have to deal with when going into somebody's home is that cats are often a little bit wary of you to start with because cats don't trust anybody until such time as they have, known them for a little while and that sort of thing. So I have to get the cat's trust very quickly, but your cats already trust you. So all you need to do is find a really good place where the light is fantastic and set yourself up a little photography set. It might just be as simple as a chair with a little blanket on it. Just make sure that, and this is where the tip is, make sure that it is simple. So you want to keep the image or the photograph or where you're going to shoot simple. So simplify the shot. That's how the composition is going to work. Now, I've got a fabulous big blue chair, and I don't know whether you can see it over here in the corner at the moment. It's this one here. It's got a blanket over it at the moment, but it's just a great blue chair, and that can look really good in photographs because it's just a simple colour. It doesn't have lots of patterns on it, and it then highlights the animal more than anything else. So don't overcomplicate your image. Another trick, clean the area up first. Make sure that you haven't got bits and pieces of stuff all over the place. Keep it nice and simple, but make sure that it's not cluttered or anything like that. There's nothing worse than when you suddenly look at a shot and you go, oh, I left, cat toys on the floor or whatever. So just do a quick cleanup of the area before you take the photo. It'll make the shot much better. Now, the other thing that you can do too, if you have got clutter and bits and pieces, and look at my back room, there's so much clutter in here at the moment, I've got to do a clean out. But what you can do is come in nice and close. So the best thing about both digital SLRs and cameras is that you can actually zoom in as well. So don't be afraid to get in nice and close and get the detail shots. It doesn't just have to be the face either. You can also get the paws and the ears. I love the ear tufts on some cats. So play around a little bit and come in nice and close. That can get rid of some of that clutter around the area as well. My other favourite thing to use is different angles. Now, when you're going to be photographing a cat, try and come down to their eye line because it gives them a much more regal, important look than if you're actually coming from above. A lot of people photograph their cats from above and it makes them look very small and little. What we want to do is really bring out their personality. So right on their eye line is a really good way of doing it. My other favourite is when they're doing their big stretches when they're sleeping is actually coming from above as well. So having that, that bird's eye view on your cat too. So that is the simplification of the shot, making sure that you simplify the shot and that you've got a space set up so that the cats will just come into that location and make themselves at home and do what cats do. Now, tip number 3, take lots of shots. Now, I say this because some people feel like they've failed because they've taken a couple of shots and they've been blurry and they haven't worked out and all that sort of thing. I've been a photographer for over 30 years, so you would expect that my shots would be good because I've had a little bit of practice at it. Practice makes perfect, so don't panic about taking lots and lots of shots. Your cat will probably get sick of you doing it, but that's okay. They will forgive you. They love you. So take a lot of shots. If you're using your phone, there's a couple of different modes on your phone that you can play around with. Now, I've got an iPhone, so on my iPhone, it's called portrait mode. But basically what happens is it takes the background and blurs it out. So play around with some of the different modes that's on your camera, on your phone camera, and see what they do. Now, just because your cat is not sitting in the right spot doesn't mean that you can't go and put a toy cat or something in that place and just experiment and practice with the focusing and getting it just right. They'll sit there eventually, and it's good practice for you as well. You're going to learn a lot just by doing that. So if you do have a digital SLR, make sure that you have a fast enough shutter speed to stop blur if they do happen to move. That's one of the real tricks. A lot of people have problems with focusing, and sometimes it's because the shutter speed isn't fast enough and they get a thing called camera shake. So if your shutter speed is low and the light is low and you put everything on automatic and you're trying to take a photo but you're wobbling a little bit, it'll give you that thing called camera shake. So just be a little bit careful with that one. Oh, it looks like we might have some problems with our video playing. Let me have a look here. Oh, it's come up and said it's having some problems playing the video. I tell you what, I'm going to keep going and hopefully it will rectify itself. And if it doesn't, I'll just record this again later and put it up as a separate video. So take lots of shots, have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, that's pretty much the 3 main things to do. So set your shot up, you're setting up your spot that will attract your cat into the perfect light. Make sure it's kept simple, so simplify your photographs. Let your cat get comfortable there on their own. Be calm and do that slow blink thing that I talk about on a regular basis to reassure them. So don't rush in there, take your time. Take enough shots and something will work out and you'll have some amazing results. And of course, if you still can't do really good photos, that's when you need to hire somebody like me. or Rita to come and take some photos for you. Now, you don't learn to swim by jumping in a pool and expecting that you can win an Olympic gold medal. So take some time to learn this as a new skill. New skills, it takes practice to get it just perfect. And that's it from me today. Hopefully this video has worked. If it hasn't, I will simply record it all again and I'll put it up later on today. For those of you that have joined me, thank you so much, and I will see you again next Thursday with another cat topic. Let me know what you want to talk about.